This is Rob Tebbett for Boxing Social. I'm delighted to be joined by the Jackal, Carl Frampton. We're here in Belfast. It's Carl Frampton, Luke Jackson Fight Week. How are you, Carl?
I'm doing good. Obviously a couple of days to go now. Looking forward to the weigh-in, like every other boxer on the bill, and but obviously looking forward to the fight as well.
What's it been like for you? You're back in Belfast now. This is your third fight in a row in Belfast after having a little bit of time away from your beloved home city. What's the reception been like this week?
It's been great. You looked at the public workout today. That was probably the best public workout I've been involved in terms of the amount of people there. Big crowd, good atmosphere around the city, and I'm excited. I enjoy fighting in Belfast. I enjoy Fight Week when it's in Belfast, and this one is just a wee bit of something extra. It's a wee bit more special than the rest of them, but big bill, and I'm looking forward to putting on a show.
Now, why is that? Obviously, you mentioned the fact that it's a big bill. You're finally getting the chance to fight at Windsor Park. Is the fact that you're now sort of fighting a little bit closer to home more regularly, does that make it more special? Does that sort of take a little bit away from it? What's that like?
Nah, I don't know. I think obviously because this is something that I've talked about for a long time in Windsor Park, I think there's a lot of pressure to put on a performance and to not only win the fight, but to win the fight in style. And I understand that, and I understand that Windsor Park deserves a big performance. I feel like I'm ready to do it. I don't feel like I'm going to let people down. I feel like I'm going to win this fight, but I feel like I'm going to do a good job and I'm going to win it well. The way things have been going in camp, the way I've been sparring, the way I've done the weight, I just think I've done everything right, and I can't see a way this guy can win. And that's not me saying I'm not overlooking him. I just believe if I fought any featherweight in the world tomorrow, I would beat them. And Luke Jackson is a featherweight in the world. I'm going to beat him.
Let's just touch a little bit on the fact that, you mentioned that you've had a great camp going forward. This is now the third fight that you've worked with Jamie Moore. How's your relationship with Jamie Moore developing? How is it different now than, say, when you first hooked up together before you fought Horatio Garcia?
We were still getting to know each other for Horatio Garcia. It was a relatively short camp. I like to have 12-week camps. I think it was about 7 weeks all in for Horatio Garcia, so it was a short one, but we had a big one for Donaire. We had a proper camp for Nino Donaire, and I think it was one of my better performances in my whole career. And our relationship has developed, our friendship has developed. Him as a coach and a mentor almost. That's all. It's always developing, and I just believe that I'm improving. I'm in the sort of age where people start to think that you may be over the hill, but I feel like I'm going the right way. I feel like I'm getting better. I'm improving. I feel stronger. I feel fitter. Mentally, I'm better than I have been in years being around these guys, and the relationship between myself and Jamie and the rest of the lads in the gym, it's brilliant. It really is. It's great, and that's why I'm enjoying boxing.
Just talk to me a little bit about that, because after you fought Horatio Garcia in your rebirth, it was called Frampton Reborn. Certain people in the boxing community kind of, pointed fingers. I know you'd been out of the ring for a fair bit of time. Some criticism was levelled at Jamie, who is relatively new to his role as a trainer. Now, he's had great wins with Rocky Fielding. Martin Murray still coming along. He's on the verge of another world title shot. Obviously, you had a great performance against Nonito Donaire. Does that kind of make you not validate your choice? And I know that it can be quite fickle sometimes among boxing fans, but how is that different for you now? Compared to that time after the Horatio Garcia fight?
It is different, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Boxing fans are fickle, and they want to look at and criticise. And I lost to Santa Cruz, and then the next fight back was Horatio Garcia. Wasn't one of my better performances. It was pushed pretty hard, but I won the fight, which is the most important thing. I was just getting used to a new trainer. It was a short camp. There's a lot of other things going on in the background, which have been well documented, and people seem to forget about that and they just look at the performance. So the most important thing for me was to get a win. I think that fight probably helped me and give me a kick up the backside that I needed. And you look at the Donaire fight, it's kind of flipped on its head. Going into the fight, people are saying 50-50. It's a dangerous fight for Frampton. And then I put in a performance like that, and Donaire's over the hill. So you can't win, but we got a lot of praise after the Donaire performance, and I think I'm going to get even more praise after the Luke Jackson performance.
You touched on it there, but how beneficial in hindsight? Obviously, you mentioned the stuff that was going on outside the ring. You had the inactivity on the back of your first career loss. But how beneficial do you think those hard rounds were against Horacio Garcia, setting you up against Nonito Donaire?
I think they were probably one of the best things that could have happened in my career. I put probably the best thing that's ever happened in my career was being put on my backside against Alejandro Gonzalez twice in the first round, and from that I made big fights. I think because of that I made the fight with Quigg and Santa Cruz. And because of the Garcia fight, because it pushed me hard and I had to really dig in. It was a 10-rounder, it wasn't a 12-rounder, it was a 10-rounder. I had to dig in against a big, strong featherweight. It kind of just gave me a kick up the backside to say, you know, I need to get serious here again. And not to say that I wasn't serious for that fight, but going into the Garcia fight, he's someone that I sparred before. Very, very confident that I was going to beat him because of the sparring. But when I turned up to the fight, he was a different man than the guy I was sparring. He was bigger, a lot bigger. It was a different fighter. But it helped me, that fight. It genuinely helped me, and I think that, I don't know, you just learn from these things, and I think I'm experienced enough to, when things happen like that, if you're not learning from them, then you know what's the point of being in this game? And I believe I learned a lot from the Horacio Garcia fight, and I genuinely still believe I'm improving. I believe, and I'm an improving fighter at 31 years old. And people may say that's hard to fathom, but I believe it. My team believe it. Mentally, I'm in a good place. I think the big performances are still to come.
What specifically, if you can sort of put your finger on it, obviously you had a sort of quite dramatic change in scenery, change in trainer, change in management. You're now with MTK Global. What specifically did you feel that, you know, I need to maybe dot a few I's and cross a few T's after that Horacio Garcia performance?
Well, we knew it needed to be a longer camp, but that was no fault of anyone, because I just teamed up with Jamie, so we had 7 weeks. That's all we had to fight. So I knew I needed to be in a longer camp. We went and trained at altitude, which was kind of trial and error for me, because I've never done it before. But I was so fit for the Donaire fight going into it because of the altitude, and we only done 6 weeks. Altitude training for that fight. This fight we've done 12 weeks. We've been out in Tenerife, and then we've continued it in the Manchester Institute Health and Performance in the Chamber. And the stats that I'm getting back from the recording, so a week out from the Donaire fight and a week out to the Jackson fight, in terms of VO2 max and stuff, I'm 10% better now, and I felt at the time I was in the shape of my life for Donaire. So I'm feeling better, I'm improving, and the people that's doing the recording and recording everything all the time. There's no guesswork, everything's recorded. They are amazed by the improvements they're seeing. So it's there, it's black and white, I can see it, I can see and I know now that there's improvements. And all this it's all positive for me, and it's helping me, and it's just reinforcing what I already knew.
That's just something that we briefly spoke about off camera before we started. You're somebody who was, you know, Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year. You boxed in America several times. You boxed in Manchester in a big fight with Scott Quigg. Now you're back in Belfast. It's the 3rd time you're back in Belfast. What does it mean to you to be fighting here? I mean, I was there today at the workout. I heard the reception. I was going to tweet about this, but you know, you see sometimes on Twitter when they tweet about something, and it kind of always happens at the perfect time, and people are always like, yeah, I'm sure that happened. When I turned up at the workout today, there was a little lad who got out of the car and he was shadow boxing on his way in. And I was going to tweet about it, but I was kind of worried that people would be like, I'm sure you did see that, but I did see that.
I believe it.
Yeah, what's it like? Because this is my first fight week in Belfast. I've been to press conferences and things like that. This is really a fight city. I mean, people have always told me about it, but it really is. Yeah. What does it mean to you to be fighting here in such a big show, having the reception of your countrymen and the people who really love to see you fight?
It means the world to me. Look, I talk about it, and people may think that you're talking for the sake of it and trying to please people or whatever, but I genuinely appreciate the support I get. I believe I'm one of the most supported fighters in the world, and you look at the turnout today for a public workout, it's unrivaled really anywhere in the UK. You talk about Anthony Joshua probably gets that, you know what I mean, but coming here, it's real boxing fans out to watch me, and they're kids, a lot of kids and old women and stuff, and they're all here to support me. A different type of fan than normal people, and a lot of knowledgeable boxing fans come to support me, and I appreciate it. You know, I've a big fan base. We're going to fill out Windsor Park. 24,000 we reckon. It's going to do with seats on the pitch. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of myself that I have this fan base, and they've been with me the whole way. Obviously, Luke Jackson isn't one of the biggest names in world boxing. I was a little bit concerned of how the public would take to the fight and would they come out and buy their tickets, but they have. And obviously, it's not all down to me. You've got Big Fury and Paddy Barnes fighting for a world title, and like Stevie Ward over there sells thousands of tickets, you know. So it's been a bit of a team effort, but I'm over. You know, I'm very, very proud of the fan base that I have.
As I said, it's going to be the first fight I've been to in Belfast. I mean, I came over to do the Frampton Donaire press conference. I came over to do the Windsor Park press conference probably 6 weeks ago. What can I expect on Saturday night when I go into Windsor Park?
A lot of noise and good atmosphere, and no messing about. You know what I mean? They're different. I believe that they're different type of people. There's not a lot of trouble at my fights. There's people that are there genuinely to watch boxing, and they sit and you'll see where some fights where, you know, the start of the night, well, a lot of people wouldn't come in until the main fight and the arena's empty. It's different. This is different. People will be in, as soon as they're in the doors, they're sitting in their seat and they're watching the boxing. A lot of people anyway, so a good atmosphere right through the bill, and then obviously at the top of the bill is when most noise is made, but I'm expecting a big atmosphere, a special night. I believe it's going to be. Windsor Park always creates a special atmosphere for the football. We've put an extra 4,000 capacity in because of seats on the pitch. It's going to be unreal.
Go back. What was it like growing up in Belfast? As I say, I've sort of been, my eyes have been open being here for the week. I mean, I've only been here 2 days, but it's fight week. What was it like growing up in that? What was it like growing up and making your way as sort of a young, before you were even a quote unquote amateur fighter? What was it like growing up in such a fight city, and how did that shape you?
It was okay. Look, it was just a working class city, and I suppose it's like many other working class cities around the UK. A normal childhood. I was in the streets playing football, messing around, getting up to mischief like the normal kid does, and I had no different upbringing than most. But Belfast is a fight city, and they love their boxers. Steve Bunce talks about it, and people may think he's exaggerating, but you get top amateur boxers walking down the street in Belfast and they get stopped and asked for photographs. It doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. They really appreciate their fighters, and I've had a big fan base even as an amateur, and I used to box in the local social club in close to Tigers Bay, which is Crusaders, the football team, and I support. So I boxed in our social club a few times. We filled it, we packed it out, and we were probably breaking all sorts of health and safety rules, but it was bung to the rafters every time, and that was when I was 18, 19, and people have always came to support me, but it's because it's a boxing city and they love their fighters. And it's the same for the other fighters around Belfast. Paddy Barnes now has the chance in only his 6th fight to have a huge fan base. Mick Conlan has a big fan base. Even Stevie Ward, who, good fighter, a lot of people may not have even heard of. Stevie Ward shifts a couple of thousand of tickets for a fight. It's unrivaled anywhere else in the world, really is.
Now you mentioned Tigers Bay. I remember when you fought Chris Avalos. And Chris Avalos was talking about, man, I'm from the hood. And I apologise to Chris Avalos if you're watching this, because I can't really do racks. But, man, I'm from the hood and I'm from this. And I remember a quote attributed to you, I'm from Tigers Bay. Yeah. What was that like growing up in Tigers Bay? I'm not from Tigers Bay. What was that like?
It was okay. What he said, I was born with a silver spoon, and that was far from the truth. Tigers Bay was an interface with the loyalist Tigers Bay, an interface with the Republican New Lodge. So it was a lot of trouble constantly, and my street was the next street to the New Lodge, so every day of the summer I seen fights, trouble, fighting, rioting, buses getting burnt out, people throwing pipe bombs, people being shot at, and it was mad. It was like the Wild West for a time, and that's what I was growing up in, but it didn't seem strange or anything. It was just the way it was. I grew up, not everyone else was in the same situation, and it was almost exciting, but to say I was born with a silver spoon, he was way wrong there.
I actually read a feature you did with a colleague of mine, person I know, a friend of mine, Danny Flexen, which touched upon a lot of this stuff. How has that shaped you, that upbringing? I mean, for somebody like me, I've never seen that. I've never seen pipe bombs and guns and things like that. Do you feel that that shaped you as a person, as a fighter?
I don't know. It's a hard one to answer because I don't know. It probably has in some way, subconsciously, but I don't know. It's a really hard question to answer. I suppose your environment does help shape anyone helps shape the person that you are, but it's a really hard question to answer, and I don't really think I have an answer for it. But I liked growing up in Tigers Bay. I loved it. I love still to bring my kids over there with friends in Tigers Bay. I love my kids to be in the street and running around, playing and doing the things that I done when I was a kid, and keeps them grounded. You know, it keeps them grounded, and I don't know. I just love it.
No, I'm not somebody who professes to have a great wealth of knowledge on the Troubles, as it were. Why do you feel that you've seemingly, I mean, you have a huge fan base all over Ireland, and people will come out to support you? Why do you think that is? I mean, it doesn't really matter to people where your alliances are or where their alliances are even. Why do you think that is?
I think it's the same with a lot of boxers. When because I've been boxing in big bills, people from both sides of the community have come out to show their support, and I know what I am, I know where I'm from, and everyone else knows that I'm from a loyalist background. I grew up in Tigers Bay, but just so happens I married a girl from the other side, Christine, and not that I done that purposely or anything, but it's kind of, it's kind of something that people look at and admire almost. But there's a lot of other people have mixed marriages, as they call them, Protestants and Catholics, but I don't shove what I am down people's throats, and I think that's what people like, and people respect that. And whoever you support, whatever allegiance you have, or whatever side of the fence you're from, it doesn't bother me. Honestly, it doesn't in the slightest, and I'll make no difference between any man. As if someone treats me nice, and if they're respectful to me, I'll show it back, and that's the way I've been brought up, and I think people like that.
Now back to the boxing. 2016, great year for you. Beat Scott Quigg, beat Leo Santa Cruz in that tremendous fight in New York. Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year. 2017, not your best year by your own admission. Yeah. How different are you now compared to the fighter that, say, first and foremost lost to Leo Santa Cruz in the rematch in Las Vegas?
Yeah, well, I think I'm a much different fighter because obviously, you can't really change the style of a person who's 31 years old. I've got my style, and it's led me to win a lot. But when I beat Leo Santa Cruz in New York, I wasn't happy. I wasn't enjoying boxing. I was talking about the day I could retire, and even before that, and the big fights with Kiko Martinez in 2014. There's interviews of me saying, I can't wait to retire. This is a hard slog, and I just wasn't enjoying it. But I was doing it because it was my job, and I was doing it to provide for my family, and I just felt like this must be what it's like for every other boxer in the world. It just feels like this. I used to wake up every morning and dread going to the gym, but I'd done it because I had to. Now it's different. I'm not like that. Mentally, I'm on it. I get up in the morning, I have my breakfast, and I'm excited to go and see the boys in the gym. I'm excited to put a session in. It doesn't feel like a slog. It doesn't feel like a job anymore. And mentally, I'm in a better place now than I was when I beat Leo Santa Cruz. Physically, I think I'm in a better place as well. I genuinely believe if I fight any featherweight, whoever I fight in the world, the way things are going in my career, I'll beat any featherweight. That includes Valdez, Santa Cruz, Warrington, Russell. I believe I beat them all, genuinely.
Now, it seems to me your name will always be linked, long after you retire, but certainly now with Leo Santa Cruz. You've spoke to me in the past about the fact that you really want that fight. Yeah. Was there ever any part of you that was not gutted, because that's obviously the wrong word, or even disappointed, but was there a part of you that when it was Windsor Park and it wasn't Santa Cruz, was there any part of you that was kind of like, come on, Leo, I really wish that was the fight that we were having?
No, because after he said he would come to Belfast to fight me, he kind of started to go back on his word, and I never thought, honestly, and I never thought. Probably 2 months after that fight, I just thought, there's no chance this guy. Just some of the interviews he'd done, there's no chance he's coming to Belfast. And he started making a few excuses and whatever. But Nah, I wasn't disappointed. I would have loved it to have been Leo Santa Cruz, but I never expected it to be, if I'm being honest. So, um, I was hoping for a big fight. I think if Lee Selby had to beat Warrington, he would have came and fought me. But Warrington has a wee bit more clout than Selby with his fan base and stuff, so he's entitled to have a bit of a break after a fight like that, and fair play to him. So there's nothing we could do. All we had to do was pick someone highly ranked with WBO. Luke Jackson was number 5, so that's why we got him. I would have loved it to have been for a world title fight, but it's out of everyone's hands. So I've been guaranteed a world title fight in my next fight, whether it's Oscar Valdez or Josh Warrington, either or, and then we can push for Santa Cruz in the new year.
One of the most refreshing things for me as a boxing fan, and as a fan of yours, probably shouldn't say that on camera, but we'll go with it, was the respect between you and Leo. I mean, now the fight hasn't happened, the fact that he has apparently reneged on his word, do you still have that same respect for him? Do you still stay relatively in contact?
I have always respected Leo Santa Cruz, and I still respect him. He's a great fighter, and I'm not for a second saying that Leo Santa Cruz is afraid to fight me. I genuinely don't believe that, but I think he would fight anyone. He's a typical Mexican fighter. He genuinely would fight anyone. But there's something there that, and maybe his team and people in the background don't want that fight to happen just yet. I don't know why. I don't know the reason, but it hasn't happened. Not for the want of trying on my behalf, but there's not a lot we can do about it. But it's there to be made. It's one each. You know what I mean? It's got to happen. And if I go into the new year as a world champion, kind of force his hand a little bit, so yeah.
If that fight doesn't happen, sorry, they're making a stake behind us or something. Not very considerate for a man who's making weight. But if that fight wasn't to happen, you were to hang up your gloves and it was 1-1, how would that make you feel?
Very, very disappointed. It would almost be like, I don't want to be a boxer who's fighting until they're 40 years old, but I think I still would be if the Leo Santa Cruz fight. I'd be chasing it until I can't chase it no more. It has to happen. I just hope it happens sooner rather than later, before the both of us are, on the walking stick. It needs to happen. Boxing wants it. I want it. Leo needs to want it as well, and the fight happens. And I've said I'm going to travel. I don't think he's going to come here. I'm happy to go back to the States. Let's do it in Vegas again. He calls Vegas a neutral venue. He's 3 hours drive from Las Vegas. You know what I mean? I'm 11-hour flight. A wee bit different. Wouldn't say neutral, but I'm happy to go to Las Vegas and fight Leo Santa Cruz again. Loved it there. Fans loved it. Let's do it.
If it's not Leo Santa Cruz, which by all intents and purposes it looks like it probably is not going to be, Josh Warrington is going to be ringside this Saturday. That's a fight that is very much realistic. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that fight can happen. I think it's either going to be Warrington or Valdez next, so whoever wants it, either or, I'll be ready. I'm mandatory for Oscar Valdez. Warrington is obviously promoted by Frank as well, so either or, doesn't matter to me. Warrington or Valdez, I'll be happy to fight any one of them.
Which one of those do you think is the easier fight for you?
Josh Warrington, and I'm not being disrespectful to him. I'm not saying it's an easy fight, but it's an easier fight than Oscar Valdez. And
why is that?
Valdez is proven. He's a very good fighter. He's a hard puncher. He fights at a great intensity. Very good body puncher. Takes a shot well. You can obviously see his toughness from the Quigg fight when he had a broken jaw and stuff. And Warrington is a good fighter, fit, good shape all the time, throws a lot of punches, doesn't punch as hard as Valdez, but I think his one big performance has been Lee Selby, who was absolutely dead at the weight, and you see all you need to see when he's coming back, not at super featherweight but at lightweight. That tells you enough. But I don't want to take anything away from Josh. He still had to go in and put in that performance, and he did it, and he looked tremendous on the night. But Oscar Valdez is, I just believe, a lot more proven fighter than Warrington, and that's it. But Josh Warrington is still he's a world champion. He's a hell of a fighter.
You have an enormous fan base in Belfast and indeed the world. Josh Warrington has an enormous fan base in Leeds. Would you be open to travelling to Leeds? Would you want him to come to Belfast, or would it be neutral territory?
No, I don't think he would come to Belfast. First of all, I would want that fight pretty soon. The biggest indoor arena in Belfast is 9,000, which isn't a lot. I'm not sure how many the Leeds arena holds, but I don't think it's much more than that. I'd be happy to go to Leeds if push came to shove, but we could do it somewhere bigger. Manchester's easy for both sets of fans. Again, probably not neutral. The Leeds fans are a little bit closer than my support, but I think that would be an ideal place for me to fight Josh Warrington, the MEN.
Back onto this fight. Luke Jackson. Seems to me like every time I open my laptop lately, Luke Jackson has said something. Has that caught your ear?
A little bit, but it's not. I think there's a lot been made out of it. I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think he's been a little bit disrespectful, I think, but this is a fight, you know what I mean? We're fighters and we say things, and he said a couple of things that have annoyed me, and then he's tried to go back and say he didn't say them and the media's twisting it. Whatever, look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I say, it doesn't matter what Luke Jackson says. This is a fight and the best man wins, and as simple as that. I believe I'm the best man. I'm going to win. I just believe I'm too good. And I don't want to sound big-headed, but I just believe I'm a different level in this guy.
He's had a lot to say about your sort of past career and the fact that you're not quite the same fighter as potentially you may have been in the past. What are your thoughts on him as a fighter? He's not somebody who's extraordinarily well known on these parts. How much have you seen of him, and what does he do well? What do you think will match up with you well from your point of view?
I think he's a decent, solid fighter. He's obviously got a high ranking with WBO, but he's not bad. He's a good fighter. I believe I'm world class. I think he's fringe world class, I would say that, but I'm just a different level to him. Pretty well rounded. Not like he said about me. He says I don't do anything spectacular. I would say that's how I would describe him. I think he might have described himself actually when he was saying that, but yeah, that's how I would describe him. Okay, does nothing spectacular, but seems to be a determined guy. He's very fit. You know, he's had a tough upbringing from what it seems, but a lot of boxers have, you know, and that's what goes with sport. You know, there's not too many people born with a silver spoon. So we'll see. But you know, I'm expecting a mentally tough opponent, physically strong opponent, but I think I beat him in every single department.
You're somebody who, while obviously being a boxer puncher is probably the way to describe it, certainly at super bantamweight you're somebody who's known as a puncher. Broke Scott Quigg's jaw, sorry Scott if you're watching, and you know, made your reputation as somebody who punches. Haven't scored a knockout in a while.
Yeah.
You're fighting in front of, you know, dream venue, Windsor Park. Is there any extra pressure on you to produce a knockout for your fans?
Well, I've said it, and I've said that I want to knock him out, but I've wanted to knock everyone out, you know, so we'll see. I think that that's the thing. I still believe I'm a puncher, and you ask Jimmy Moore, who takes me in the pads every day, you ask anyone that's sparred me recently, I'm a puncher, and I can punch hard. Although I haven't knocked anyone out recently, I've been fighting a fairly high caliber of opponent, but one's coming. I'm due a knockout, and I don't want to put pressure on myself by saying I'm definitely going to knock Luke Jackson, but I feel like I could knock him out.
With all of this talk with your Santa Cruzes, your Warringtons, your Gary Russells, mainly from people like me asking you these questions, is there any chance of you taking your eye off the ball? Obviously you had the Alejandro Gonzalez, rest in peace, incident when you fought him in El Paso. Have you learned from that? Is there any chance of that potentially happening again with all of these big fights on the horizon?
Like I said earlier, the Alejandro Gonzalez thing was one of the best things that happened in my career, because it's given me the kick up the backside and made me realise you cannot overlook any opponent. So Luke Jackson he said a few things as if I haven't been training hard and I look a bit out of shape and sluggish, but I think it's almost like a comfort blanket for him, and he wants to believe it. I'm not sure he actually does believe it, but it doesn't matter. I've put in an amazing training. I was talking to Jamie the other day. I don't remember having a bad session this whole camp. 12 weeks. I don't remember having a bad session, which is very unusual. So no, I'm not overlooking this guy. I'm in incredible shape. I feel fit. I feel strong, and he'll know all about it. He'll know all about it on the night.
Now, as we've discussed, this is your dream venue, fighting in front of Belfast. Tyson Fury is on the undercard. Seems to have gathered a lot of media attention. Obviously, there's Deontay Wilder talk, sort of seemingly never-ending recently. Has that sort of, I don't know what the term is, like dimmed your sparkle? Dimmed, like, has that sort of downplayed this week for you?
Not at all. Obviously, there's been a bit of media attention with Fury, and people are excited that Wilder's coming over, and they're hoping that that's a fight that's going to be made pretty much straight after. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but it's good to have both guys here. But I suppose it's taken a wee bit of the pressure off me and dealing with all the media and stuff on fight week, which isn't a bad thing, but something that Tyson Fury said earlier on a BT No Filter thing, and he says that everyone's here to watch him. Tyson Fury brings in a big audience in the TV, but everyone is not here to watch Tyson Fury at Windsor Park. They're here to watch me, they're here to watch Paddy Barnes, they're here to watch guys like Stevie Ward. These are loyal boxing fans. More people are here to watch Stevie Ward than Tyson Fury on the Windsor, and that's no disrespect to Big Tyson, but this is a boxing city and they love their local fighters. It's great to have Big Fury on the bill, absolutely great, but they're here to support their own. And he brings in the TV audience, I know that, I'm not daft, but people are here to watch us and him, but give us a bit of credit.
What do you make of Tyson's return to the ring? You had your own inactivity, your own layoff, very different circumstances to those that Tyson went through until he returned in June. What do you make of his return to the ring?
I think it's okay.
You alright?
Yes, I'm alright. Near done.
Nearly done.
Nearly done.
Nigel, thank you.
Come on, son.
I think.
Thanks, Nigel.
I think. Yeah, it's. Well, the Safri fight was a bit of a circus almost, but I don't think anyone was expecting much. You know, it was a long layoff. He had to lose a lot of weight, and we seen the troubles he had outside the ring. But he came back and he got a win, which everyone expected. But what I'm hoping to see from Fury in this fight is a more serious Tyson Fury, and I think we have seen it so far in the build-up. I think if he gets the chance, he should take, what's the name of the opponent? Forgot his name. Pianetta, yeah. He should take him out. He should go and do it and look good, and then you can start talking about Wilder and Joshua. But I think he needs to look a lot better than he did in his last fight. But I think we need to give him a wee bit of slack because he had a long layoff. He lost 8 stone or 7 stone or whatever it was. Still has a little bit of weight to lose, but it looks like he's lost it. So it's an exciting addition again to the heavyweight division. The Big Fury's a character and he talks a lot, and people like to hear. I like to hear him. I'm a fan of Tyson Fury. I like to watch him. I like to listen to him. But it's good to have him back. But we need to see more. We need to see more.
Okay, well, I'm going to wrap this up because Nigel Travis scares me a little bit, and I don't want him to hit me. Yeah, probably a good thing. But yeah, just a final word on fighting this weekend at Belfast. You shared that you've mentioned him already. Paddy Barnes fighting for a WBC World Flyweight title against Christopher Rosales. Tough fight. Conrad Cummins, Stevie Ward on the bill. How much does it mean to you, and what final message have you got for your fans?
It means the world to me. To have, you know, to be on a bill with close friends. Paddy Barnes, one of my best friends. Conrad Cummins and Stevie Ward, you know, 2 guys that I live with and train alongside. Big Fury as well, which is an attraction in itself. And the fans, the support I get, honestly, it means the world to me. And this is something. It's just going to be. It's a special night for not only me, but I think the whole city, the whole country almost. And yeah, it's going to be a special one. I forget the question now, but I feel like I've rambled on a bit. But I'm looking forward to the night.
That's fine, Carl. You're entitled to ramble when you have somebody like me sat in front of you when you've got to make weight tomorrow. So my apologies for that. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Look forward to seeing you in action on Saturday night at Windsor Park in Belfast.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks,
Carl.
Carl.
Thanks,
Cheers,
mate.
mate. Thanks very much.